I'm going to be setting up the spider venom on the Weber kettle. Let's get to it.
Hey guys. Okay, so I have a really cool tool to show you. Now, what is more OG than the Weber kettle? A 22-inch grilling icon. Now, when you think charcoal grilling, you think Weber kettle. At least most people do. It's an inexpensive, useful tool that lasts for decades and decades and decades.
It's virtually untouchable.
Now, just because it's super popular doesn't mean that it doesn't have its
downsides.
For me, the most frustrating part about cooking with charcoal on a Weber kettle, air temp management. You gotta play with the top exhaust, you gotta play with the bottom vents, sometimes waiting 15 minutes for temperatures to fluctuate. Now, when you have a piece of meat or a cook going on, it's a little bit frustrating when the temperatures go crazy. Airflow dictates temperature. The more air that's infused inside, the hotter that kettle becomes. You infuse it with a nice amount of airflow, guarantee you that temperature is going right through the roof. Now, I've actually talked about this pain point in a lot of my videos. I usually address it by working with my ThermoWorks billows, which required me to make a nice hole in the Weber kettle at the bottom. So I stumbled upon a company called Spider, and they make an interesting product called the Venom. The Venom is basically an attachment for the Weber kettle and controls the airflow entirely, or at least it claims to do that. It has a beautiful display, and it doesn't require you to drill a hole in your Weber kettle like the ThermoWorks billows. The more I read about it, the more intrigued I became. So I reached out to Spider, and they agreed to send me the Venom in exchange for an honest review. And that's what they're gonna get. This video is gonna be set up in 5 parts. Number 1, setting up the Venom. Number 2, preparing the cook, and we're gonna be making some incredible beef plate ribs. Number 3, the cook and the whole process. Number 4, a taste test, of course, to see how it came out. And number 5, some final thoughts and the final review. Before we jump right into it, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. We have so many incredible videos coming out, you do not want to miss them. All right, and without further ado, let's jump right in. So what's nice about the Venom, not too many parts come in the box, so not a major installation job. First, you have the main control panel, which is attached to the gasket. It also comes with an ash catcher basket, which for me, I'm really happy about because I have an older model of the Weber kettle. Comes with instructions, obviously. Imagine if you bought something and it didn't come with instructions. That'd be definitely interesting. Actually, you buy stuff from Amazon sometimes, comes from China, has no instruction, you have no idea what the heck it is, so you have to look up on Amazon how to install it. Anyways, I digress. It also comes with the charger. It also comes with a plug, comes with an airflow probe, and one internal temperature probe. The internal temperature probe, you don't really need to use it if you don't want to. You can use one that you have lying around. But the airflow probe is critical because that's how it monitors the temperature inside and controls the airflow accordingly. And finally, it comes with a screwdriver. This is actually a really useful tool. Thank goodness they sent it. Not everyone has a screwdriver in their house. It's going to be needed for the installation process. The installation is quite simple, but takes a little bit of toggling around. The first thing you're going to do is take your cover off the Weber kettle, set it aside, and flip the base upside down. Now, I may have made a little bit of a mistake. I should have used a soft surface or used a cardboard underneath my Weber kettle, so I may have scratched up the lining a bit. Step 2, remove the legs. Trust me, I spent way too much time playing around with it, trying to avoid this step, but it made it way easier, and putting them on and off is quite simple. Step 3, place the Venom on the vents. Make sure that the vent stick goes through the open slot, and you really don't need any force for that step. Step 4, one of the little hooks on the Venom is a hard metal. That piece you want to levy first into one of the leg bases, and then apply pressure on the others to kind of push them downwards. You might not be able to snap them in place on your own without putting the whole unit at risk. That's what the screwdriver is there for. Use a screwdriver while applying pressure to push down on those little hooks until they clamp right into the empty slot of the legs. Step 5, attach the little hook that comes in the Venom onto the fan stick. This allows you to open and close the vents, both of the Venom and of the Weber kettle at the same time without toggling one or the other. Step 6, reattach your legs. I was actually quite excited while installing, so I actually forgot which leg went where, so I installed them in a weird way, and then I had to actually go back a couple weeks later and fix it up. Step 7, flip the Weber kettle back onto its feet, add the ash basket, and that's it. So let's go. Now you may notice that right above the Venom, I have that nice little hole. That's the hole that I was talking about before. That's the one that I use on my ThermoWorks billows. Now I know some people are gonna ask me, hey, wait a minute, doesn't that affect your cook? Doesn't it allow more airflow? Honestly, it's a small enough hole that if the fire needs to die out, it will die out, but I will be installing a smoke cover port on that hole, so not to worry. All right, that was fun. Now let's move on. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna be making some delicious beef plate ribs. And when I make beef ribs, it's a low and slow. So the temperature, you don't want it to fluctuate too much. And that's what the Venom is supposed to be controlling. But when you're using charcoal, the two types that you have are either briquettes or lump. Lump charcoal are bigger chunks and they burn way hotter, while briquettes are more consistent and burn a little cooler. So I use briquettes whenever doing a low and slow. And doing a low and slow, you want an indirect cook. So I dump a nice amount of briquettes on one side of the grill and I get my chimney. I fill it up about a quarter of the way with some charcoal, get some tumbleweed, light it up, let it to start combusting and get lit. Now, while that's lighting, we go ahead and prepare our meat. There's one and there's two. Look how incredible they came out. Those little bumps on the meat, that's because they were in a vacuum sealed bag. But look how incredible that marbling is. The more the marbling, the better the flavor is gonna be. It's fat. Fat is flavor, and it's gonna render out, making the meat insanely juicy and tender. These two ribs need minor trimmings just to remove some silver skin, but nothing crazy. Now for the rub process. I saw a video on Meat Church that I absolutely loved. I tried it a few times and I've been hooked ever since. I'm not going back, whether it's gonna be on brisket or on ribs. We start off with the black pepper. No binders, no olive oil, no water, no nothing. Black pepper, it sticks, and then you add the rest of the spices. The reason is because if you add the black pepper after, you don't really know how much is gonna fall off, so the bark may not come out as intense as you want it to be. So black pepper first, followed by beef bouillon or beef consommé, garlic powder, salt. I know that sounds weird, but trust me, this is a really, really incredible tip. Now pour on the rub. You can add some on the bone side where that membrane is, but it's not really necessary. I like to add it because it gives it a little bit of a flavor when I chew on it later. Now that I'm done with the rub and spicing up that beef, we go ahead back to that chimney. It's more or less ready to be dumped on the pile. We want to dump it on the side of the pile, not all over. And I add an aluminum tray to catch any drippings that are going to render down. I go ahead, I add in the airflow Venom probe. You see that little silicone piece there that looks like a not so smiley face? That's called a grommet. So I installed that grommet in the Weber kettle, and it's actually a port for probes, which is incredible. That way it doesn't have to go right beneath the cover and the base. So it's not pinching any of my wires. I don't need to put it above on the exhaust. It's really nice and clean. And I'm actually gonna be sharing a video on how to install a grommet. So make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. It's coming real soon. The air probe temperature, you don't want it right above the charcoals. So you set it as far away as possible, where it's gonna sit about 1 inch away from the meat. For the smoke, I'm using cherry today. I love the flavor of cherry. Any fruit-bearing tree really comes out quite delicious. Now the setup of the Venom is real simple. Either you can do it on the actual unit or from your phone. In this case, I'm actually setting it up on my phone, where you set it up to 250 and presto manifesto, it's on its way. The main panel tells me to crack open the vent on the top 1/4 of the way, so go ahead and do that. And you just watch it as it climbs, slowly, slowly. And the temp, ding, the temp has been reached. You know what that means? It's time to cook. Hey guys, let me know in the comment section, how am I doing so far? How are you liking this video? If good, let me know in that comment section. If you hate this video, also let me know. Tell me what I can improve on for the next one. So, for the cook, get your ribs, get them on. That's simple. Get your internal probe in one of them, and the big thick bone side should be facing the heat. Make sure that your meat is above the tray, otherwise it's gonna make a mess all over. Your target internal temp on these ribs is gonna be about 195. So in the app itself, on the Venom, you can set that up. Now these ribs are gonna take between 4 to 5 hours. So we have some time. While you're waiting, go ahead and check out this video. I made rotisserie chicken and I compared it to barbecue smoked chicken. Both came out incredible, but which one has the edge? Go ahead, click that video, check it out. And when you're done with that one, subscribe to the channel. Now let's skip on to a half point check. So about the halfway mark, it's been regulating incredibly. I don't think it overshot by more than 5 degrees. not more. Now let's take a look. Moment of truth. Oh, baby. Those are coming along very, very nicely. Looking good, eh? All right, now I'm gonna go and do some other things while we wait for it to finish off. 5 hours already? Okay, I guess I had some more time. All right, let's go see how they came out. Look at those ribs. They pulled off the bone so nicely. You can actually see in the tray, in the grill, all that rendered fat. If I'm not mistaken, that's just like tallow. Tallow you make just with the fat, but this is rendered fat, which I'm actually gonna be using. That's why I didn't add water there. I'm gonna be using it, I'm gonna pour it on top of the ribs. But anyways, look at that bark. Look, it's still dripping of juices. So now I'm gonna take them off, get them on a cutting board to rest. I'm gonna cover them with aluminum and a towel. Now we're gonna wait 30 minutes and we're gonna taste.
All right, moment of truth. First things first, the bark is incredible. Really, really incredible. Now, personally, I don't like it where it falls off the bone so tender. I like it a little bit tougher, where it has a little bit of a pull. See? Crunchy on the outside, soft and tender on the inside, a beautiful smoke. I'm gonna show you the smoke ring. Doesn't that look incredible? All right, now one for my wife, one for myself. We're gonna go have dinner. I'll see you in the next one.
That was delicious. First things first, the installation. The installation was actually quite simple. It just took a little bit of toggling back and forth until it was on and everything was installed correctly. So installation-wise, no complaints. One point that would have been nice if the actual panel could be removed so the installation can be done, you can apply enough pressure on the unit itself and then you just plop in the main panel. That would be a nice feature to have, but it's not a deal breaker at all. The next thing is the fact that I don't have to make a hole is quite a nice feature. It just goes over, there's that gasket that covers completely the airflow. So even if you have some busted wings, it's not a problem at all because anyways you need to leave them opened for the venom to control the airflow. Setting it up was really, really simple and it comes up to temp really, really nicely. I like how on the actual unit it tells you how much to open your top vents. That's a nice feature to have for beginners, for people who don't know what they're doing, especially with the top vent and the vent controls. That's critical. It controlled the temp incredibly well. I don't think it overshot by more than like 2 degrees Fahrenheit. It did an impeccable job. My ThermoWorks bellows has some trouble regulating because that hole is there, right, on the side. If one of my wings may be busted at the bottom, it's a little bit elevated, so there's airflow coming through even if I shut it 100%, which is not ideal. So it has a little bit of a hard time controlling the airflow. But the Venom, I'm really, really impressed with how it didn't overshoot. I was able to go away for a good 2 or 3 hours without worrying at all and actually monitoring it through my phone because it connects through Wi-Fi, which is a nice little feature. All in all, it's a really good tool. I absolutely love it. I've used it several times since, and every time the same results. The food was cooked to perfection. It never overshot by more than 1 or 2 degrees, and it helped cool things down very, very quickly. And Spider told me that there's a lot of great features coming to the app that's gonna make it way, way better. If you're like me and you prefer to just let things go and just do something else and you don't wanna be there actively playing with the vents, I definitely recommend the Venom. You can make burgers, you can make hot dogs, you can make steaks, all the way down to obviously ribs, brisket. That's a review. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave me your feedback in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. We have so many videos coming out that you don't want to miss. When you subscribe to Impossibly Kosher, you're subscribing to get authentic and classic recipes from all over the globe, delicious and tested cooking methods, and everything 100% kosher. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.